Get going. This is Andi Purewal for Boxing News. I'm joined by promoter Frank Warren here in London. Frank, it is absolutely roasting down here. You're dressed to the nines. Are you not hot yourself?
I'm always hot. I'm hot. I'm hotter than the day I was born, son.
Frank, obviously, we've just seen your man Daniel Dubois go for a little workout there for us ahead of his attempt to become unified heavyweight champion next weekend in Poland. What did you make of his workout there on the pads?
Well, it is what it is. He's moving around. You're not going to get too much of that. All you can look at and see how fit he is, how well he is, and how sharp he's looking.
Going into this fight, Frank, obviously a number of people have kind of written him off before he's even stepped between the ropes. For anybody who has written him off, what have you made of their comments?
I couldn't give a monkey's what people think. I've got belief in my man. That's why we made the fight. We'll see, won't we? Who's right on the 26th?
It's obviously a big ask for anybody to obviously go out to Poland. There'll be a big Ukrainian following there supporting Alexander Usyk. I know how confident you are Daniel can upset the odds and come back with those titles. What does he have to do, though, to become the champion come next weekend?
Beat Usyk.
How does he go about doing that?
Going out there and taking the fight to him, controlling the fight, using all his physical attributes, which is his jab, his superior reach, his size, and forcing the pace and letting those bombs go. Because he's a very hurtful puncher. And his temperament, I think, will see him through, and that's why I believe he'll become champion.
We obviously saw the two fights with Alexander and Anthony Joshua. People said going into those fights, Anthony obviously had the physical advantages, maybe never made the most of them. That was my next question. How does Daniel go about obviously enforcing his advantages?
He's going to back off of a smaller man and be out-jabbed by a smaller man, then he'll have a problem. And he's got to make sure he controls it. As I said, as soon as that first bell goes, he's got to stamp his authority on the fight.
Obviously on the undercard as well, we see Hamzah Sheeraz, another man of yours who's just turned up to go for his own workout. A chance for him to start getting active now, Frank.
He is active. He's fighting on the card, isn't he? On the 26th.
What are you hoping he shows next weekend?
I'm hoping he shows all the skills that he's got. He's a tremendous, tremendous fighter. And I believe he's got I really do believe he can go all the way. He's in with another Ukrainian. He's going into the Lion's Den, and I think it's a good experience for him. But I genuinely believe that he is one of the big prospects in British boxing, in world boxing.
Would you say he's still a prospect, or would you say he's surpassed kind of that prospect tag now?
He's not won the world title yet, but I believe he can do it. So I believe he can get there, and we will see. This is another part of his journey, fighting away from home, and going into the Lion's Den himself in taking a Ukrainian in a venue that will be full of Ukrainians.
Obviously, just with Hamzah, there's a lot of talk about that Denzel Bentley British title fight. Do we see that towards the end of the year, Frank?
I think that providing they both keep winning, I can see that fight happening. But I'd much rather it be for a world title. I believe they're both of them. I believe can win a world title, and I believe that'll be a huge fight if we can make that happen, and we will try and make that happen.
Frank, just get your thoughts on a few other topics. Go back up to the heavyweight division. This past weekend, we saw Anthony Joshua stop Robert Helenius in the 7th round. It's kind of created mixed opinion whether or not people were impressed with AJ's performance. What were your thoughts on it?
Well, I'm with the booers. I wasn't impressed at all. He took a guy a week's notice, as you know, we know, and that's difficult at times. But he did what was expected of him, being a puncher, knocking out a guy normally when he steps up, gets beaten. That's what happened. Up until then, though, it was a snooze fest.
You obviously saw Deontay Wilder come in against Tyson Fury 3 times, and Tyson, to many people, won all 3. Obviously, one of those was a draw technically, but for most people, Tyson won all 3 fights. From what you saw in AJ's performance against Robert Helenius, how does he fare against Deontay Wilder if that fight gets made next?
Well, I think if he's still got something left in the tank, I believe that that Deontay will beat him. But it's a fight between the guys who've been beaten by the champions. That's what it is. That's what it is. And you know, it's a good fight. It's a fight between the guys that are no longer at the top of their game.
If, say, that fight happens and Wilder beat AJ, is any future Fury-Joshua fight dead in the water of it?
Say it again?
Say if that fight does happen, and then down the line, if Wilder was to beat Anthony Joshua, is any future Fury-Joshua fight off the cards then?
You know, one thing's for sure, the fights have been exciting, all of them. In different ways, they've been exciting fights. Who knows?
Also, just wanted to get your thoughts. In the build-up to it, including last week, Eddie was always saying that in the background, talks had continued to make the Joshua Wilder fight pre-White failing his test, and obviously since the Helenius fight was announced, has that been the case with? In the build-up to last week, Eddie Hearn was saying that they were still negotiating the Joshua Wilder fight. So for you guys, just looking at the Fury-Usyk front, I know you've got Usyk-Dubois to focus on, but have those talks continued in the background to try and make Fury-Usyk next year, or Fury-Dubois if Dubois beats?
Any conversations with anybody? We tried to make the fights. We accepted an offer for the fight in December, for it to take place in December, and then they're moving it again to February, and they couldn't deliver. So we've accepted the offer of the fight. Then we tried to put it on in the UK. It's not happened, and I don't think it will happen now because I think he's going to get beat on the 26th. And as regarding Joshua, he had his opportunity, given a very good percentage of the gate and the takings, and he chose not to go down that route.
If Usyk is successful next weekend, do you revisit the Fury-Usyk fight?
After Tyson has his fight against Ngannou, we'll see.
Obviously, there were critics around the Fury and Ngannou fight, Frank. Can you get your thoughts on anybody who's been critical of Tyson taking that one?
Don't buy it. It's really simple, isn't it? But it's going to be a burster. Everybody's going to watch it. It's going to be a massive event. It's a crossover fight between the best, the guys the best, both of them best in their respective disciplines. UFC heavyweight and the lineal heavyweight champion of the world, WBC champions. It's going to be a great event.
Since Tyson fought Dillian, he's defended his title once in 18 months by the time he steps in with Fury and Ngannou, which also isn't for his title. People critical of that front as well. What do you make of that statistic?
He's the only reason he's not been fighted because we signed to fight Usyk, and it didn't happen. And that got messed around for months, and it just didn't happen. We signed for it. We agreed terms for it. With skills challenge for it to go on in December, as I said, and go on in February. I keep repeating myself on that. Accepted that. Then we tried to make the fight in the UK because they couldn't deliver it this year. Then they were talking about doing it in December, and as we all know now, they can't do that. So, it's not for the want of trying. And we also tried to defend his title in a voluntary against Joshua, and it didn't happen because Joshua chose to fight. It was going to be Dillian Whyte. That's what happened. So what do I feel about him? He's, Tyson wants to be an active fighter. That's the one thing he does, is spend all his time in the gym working very hard. And, he can only do what he can do. I mean, how active have all the other guys been? How active have they all been? When was the last time Usyk fought? When was the last time Usyk fought?
Well, it was Joshua, so...
How long ago was that?
That was in December, so yeah.
It's Tyson.
Sorry, that was last August, sorry. Yeah.
Tyson's been more active than him.
Just moving away from that one, Frank, obviously this weekend you've got Dennis McCann and Iona Baluta this weekend. Terrific fight.
Terrific fight. It's a great card, and that's where all these youngsters that we build and we bring through, that's where it starts. This, bringing them through on the smaller venues, building them up, and this is going to be a great. If you're a real boxing fan, watch Friday night show. It's going to be fantastic. Really good quality fights with good quality young fighters who I believe are going to become the stars of tomorrow.
Just on that fight with Dennis McCann and Iona Baluta, that's obviously a terrific fight. A lot of people are excited for that one. What would it say if Dennis comes away with a victory against Iona Baluta, who's caused many an upset with British fighters?
He has. Well, he's got to make sure he doesn't cause another upset.